Welcome to Colts Central Radio on the Pro Football Central Radio Network. Now your host, Tyler Brooke.
Hello everyone, welcome to Colts Central Radio, hosted by myself, Tyler Brooke. In this episode today, we're going to be talking to Kyle Rodriguez, feature columnist of the Indianapolis Colts for Bleacher Report, and writer for ColtsAuthority.com. What we're going to be talking about is we're going to go down each position of the roster, talking about who we think is going to start, who we think are going to be backups, who's going to make the cut, who doesn't make the cut, undrafted rookies, and things of that nature. But first, we've got to talk about storylines heading into the third week of OTAs for the Colts. Backup quarterback Matt Hasselbeck continues to praise Andrew Luck on his work ethic, saying he's been off the charts impressive during OTAs. What a lot of people have also been saying that Hasselbeck himself has been impressive, that he can still fling the football despite not being a Pro Bowler and only having a year or two left in his career. Despite being out several games with injuries and showing some signs of struggle last year, Kobe Fleener has apparently looked much better in Pep Hamilton's new offensive scheme, which shouldn't impress anyone that watched him and Luck play at Stanford with the connection they had. With their former coach helping them out on offense with the Colts, expect bright things in the future from Fleener. There have actually been a few undrafted free agent rookies that have impressed so far. Sheldon Price out of UCLA and Daxton Swanson out of Sam Houston State have both stepped up in the secondary. In particular, Swanson's been impressive, with several people pointing out in the media that Swanson actually nearly picked off Andrew Luck in the end zone in one of the practices. Dan Moore, a fullback out of Montana, has been another guy that's impressed, especially making catches out of the backfield. It'll be interesting to see what the Colts do with him and Stanley Havili now on the roster, but one thing's for certain is that the Colts will use fullbacks a lot more in 2013. Based off of what we've seen of him so far, Darius Hayward-Bay has been impressing quite well at OTAs. Unfortunately, he pulled his hamstring and has been out for a little bit during OTAs, but when he's been lined up as a starting wide receiver. It'll be interesting to see what the Colts do with him, but it looks like he'll be getting quite a bit of playing time. Another new face that's been impressing is Greg Toller. He's been standing out as a coverage corner. Unfortunately, he's also been dealing with a sore foot and has been wearing a boot on that foot. He's been injured quite a few times during his veteran career, so this could be a problem. The Colts are hoping he stays healthy and can actually make a potential starting contribution to this team. Lastly, LaRon Landry's been absent from all of OTAs, along with Robert Mathis and Reggie Wayne. Wayne and Mathis are established veterans, so their presence isn't exactly needed at OTAs. But Landry's a new face on this team, and some fans were hoping to get a look at him during OTAs. While it shouldn't be too concerning, it is a little upsetting that he's not here working with new teammates. That's it regarding news for OTAs. Now talking with me is Kyle Rodriguez, writer for Bleacher Report and Colts Authority.
Doing good. Thanks for coming on Colts Central.
No problem. Glad to be here.
All right, so starting at quarterback, we all know that Andrew Luck's going to start and Hasselbeck's going to be the backup. What do you think about Harnish potentially as a third string? Do you think they'll keep him on?
He's a tough one for me. I think I have a hard time seeing them carry three all the way through the season. I do see him as a guy that they could keep on through training camp and through the final cuts, and possibly wait him a few weeks into the season to try and sneak him through and sneak him onto that practice squad.
Yeah, it's you kind of want to root for the guy because he's a Mr. Irrelevant pick and everything. But the Colts have never really had three quarterbacks. When you look at Peyton, you look at Jim Storgy, and then the third stringer was Hunter Smith.
Well, even last year, they could have kept Harnish, especially because Drew Stanton. Matt Hasselbeck is on a higher level than Drew Stanton. So, if you were the case where you really wanted to carry three quarterbacks through the season, it would have been last season. But with Hasselbeck there, they trust Hasselbeck. If it comes to a point in the season where they need a roster spot for Jeff, which it probably will, then I give them Harnish without twice.
Yeah. All right, at running back, a lot of people have different views on who should be the starter. I personally think Vic Ballard. Is that your belief as well?
I think that Ballard will be the starter, but I think Ballard and Donald Brown are going to share the snaps, probably something like 60-40. Personally, I think Brown is a little bit more naturally talented than Ballard, but Ballard earned the spot last year, and that's fair. I think that's perfectly fine for both of them to share that spot, which is what it sounds like they're going to do with Colts running back coach. I think it was David Walker saying that he's pretty happy with the rotation of those two. So that's what I'd expect.
Yeah, and then there's a couple guys down lower on this spot. There's Kerwin Williams and Denotis O'Brien, the undrafted guy. I think Kerwin Williams can make an impact in the kick returns position, and then Denotis they might even keep as a kick returner.
Yeah, we'll see. Last I heard in OTAs, Hilton and Vaughn were taking most of the snaps in punt and kick return spots, but I'm sure they're going to work those guys in. And if Williams is going to make a team, I mean, he's a 7th rounder, he's a late 7th rounder, so it wouldn't be unheard of if he was cut. If he's going to make the team, you'd like to see him make an impact on special teams, especially like I said with Brown and Ballard taking the lion's share of the snaps at running back. But they haven't said anything definitive on Delone Carter either, so Williams could work in, leap ahead of him for that third back spot as well.
Yeah, exactly. All right, things get pretty interesting at fullback because we know there's a new offense being implemented, but there's two guys on the roster. There's Stanley Havili and Dan Moore. I know Havili was big at USC in terms of going out in the passing game. And then you got Dan Moore, who was kind of a versatile back, who even played some tailback at Montana.
Yeah, I don't really think Moore has much of a chance of making the roster. I think Havili, they traded for him. I think they see a definite value in him at fullback. More, it's anything's possible, especially at fullback, which isn't heralded position by any means. He could work his way onto the roster, but he's got a pretty low chance.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've heard they've been splitting snaps somewhat, but I believe Havili's going to get most of the snaps. And then we got center. We got Samson Satile, and we got Khaled Holmes. I still think Satile's going to start. What about you?
I think he starts the season. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Holmes outworked him and passed him in training. And when I say outworked, I mean just outplayed. Sterling was terrible last season, and as a Colts fan, you have to be rooting for either Holmes to win the position, fairly, that he's good enough to win the position, or for Satile to return to the form that Colts hopes he would have, before coming in and playing pretty poorly.
Yeah, exactly. We got the offensive guard positions too. We know Mike McGlynn was terrible last year, and now they brought in a couple new faces in Donald Thomas and Heath Thornton. Do you think Thornton can have a chance to start? I think we all pretty much feel like Donald Thomas is going to start as the other offensive guard.
Yeah, Thomas is going to start at left guard. And the Colts coaches are saying that they're working Thornton on the right side. But for me, that says that Thornton has the best chance of starting there. If they weren't slating to start, then it seems more like he would be playing on both sides. He's going to be kind of a depth guy, but it seems like it's his job to lose at this point. If he doesn't play well at all during the preseason training camp, then sure they start out with McGlynn. He's the veteran presence and whatnot. But otherwise, I have a hard time seeing McGlynn starting anything to start the season.
Yeah, and then we got offensive tackle, which I think is pretty much set in terms of starters. I think we all believe that Costanzo and Shirtless are going to be starting there. I don't really know much on the backups behind them. Do you know much about them?
There's not a lot of depth there. Justin Anderson, I believe, is taking second snaps at right tackle. And he's a guy whose build is probably better for guard. Nobody really wants to see him starting. So pray for health for Shirtless and Costanzo. But other than that, you've got Bradley Sowell who played last season, wasn't good. So again, you're hoping that Anderson can outplay him there. Emmett Cleary is an interesting name for me.
Yeah.
He played with Costanzo at Boston College, signed as an undrafted free agent. I could definitely see him playing his way onto the roster as a depth tackle. Because besides a guy like Jeff Lincolnbach, possibly Anderson, possibly Sowell, other than that, there's really nobody on the roster with experience. So I'd like to see a guy like Cleary play his way on, hopefully have some depth there.
Yeah, I think when you look at Cleary, he's a guy that played both tackle positions in college. But I think at the next level, the thing he needs to work on, he either needs to get quick enough to play left tackle or strong enough to play right tackle. He's just kind of an in-between tackle there right now that really can't excel at one spot or the other. All right, and then we got wide receivers. This is kind of getting interesting. I think we know Reggie Wayne, Darius Hayward-Bay, and T.Y. Hilton. And then I think from there on it's kind of wide open. There's undrafted free agents like Lanier Sampson and Roderick Rumble. There's the big former CFL player Jeremy Kelly. There's Griff Whalen, the guy that impressed last year in 2012. And then there's Levon Brazil. What do you think about these guys?
Well, Brazil has the inside track because he made the team last year. He got in the games, played some snaps, got some snaps. But I have to think that Griff Whalen is right there with them. He's getting snaps in OTAs with the first team. Caught a touchdown from Luck in the red zone drills the other day. And him and Luck and Kobe Fleener are the ones who are bursting all these guys in the Stanford lingo and whatnot. So I really like Whalen. I think he's got a chance to be a good slot receiver behind Hilton, especially in Hamilton's offense. And then behind them, I really like Rumble. I don't think Kelly has much. I don't think that Sampson's got much either. So I'd like to see Rumble play his way onto the roster, but you've already got three guys for sure, top three guys for sure, and then those bottom two, like I said, I like Brazil and Whalen to make the roster, and I don't know that they keep sick.
Yeah, I'm still rooting for Rumble. It's really hard to find film on him because he was in an FCS school, but when you watch some of the plays he made, he just made some just exciting plays. He was fun to watch. I remember there was one play, I think it was within the 5-yard line, he just made a ridiculous catch in the end zone, at the back of the end zone. He's
got a lot of natural talent. He's got good size. The question is just, can you tone that down into, the technical wide receiver as well? Because natural talent, it only can do so much.
Yeah. And then we got tight end, which Fleener and Allen, this is actually, when you look at it, it's actually not a bad spot in our, we actually might be one of our strengths. We got Fleener and Allen, and then I know Justice Cunningham's been impressing a lot at rookie minicamp and OTAs.
Yeah, Cunningham came in from college, and everyone lauded his blocking skills. He's a big tight end. He's a very good blocker. But didn't show much at South Carolina in the passing game, but he's been, according to reports out of minicamp and OTAs, he's shown some surprisingly good receiving skills. And really, that's all you're looking for as the third tight end, is someone who can come in who can block well and not be a guy who defenses can completely ignore if you do choose to pass.
Yeah, no, some of the scouting reports weren't too nice. I'm calling him basically an essential third offensive tackle, but it's nice to see that he's been making some plays in the passing game, at least in OTAs. But then again, we can't put too much on that.
Right, no contact, nothing like that. We'll really see when it comes to training camp, but you have to like him showing his soft hands and an ability to go up and get the ball.
Yeah. All right, we're going to switch to defense now. I think the defensive line is just kind of hard to see what's going on right now because they brought in a number of guys, and Josh Chapman's coming back from injury, and then who do you think starts on the three defensive line positions?
Defensive line is arguably the most fluid position on the team. So there's a lot of people subbing it out all the time. But starting, I have a hard time seeing anyone other than Redding, Eugene Francois, and starting at defensive end. And then nose tackle is the one position where there's a question mark. But Josh Chapman seems to have the inside track on that position, although O'Brien Franklin's got a chance too. Yeah,
and then we got to look at Ricky Jean Francois, who was obviously on a Super Bowl team, even though they didn't win it. Yeah, the Chapman-O'Brien Franklin thing is something I'm going to want to watch because there's a lot of hype on Chapman, but there might be too much hype because just because he didn't play last year, people kept asking about him, and now everyone's just expecting him to do big things coming out of injury.
Yeah, the Colts have been talking him up a lot, and you don't necessarily like to see that because you set a high expectation. Like you said, a lot of fans are really excited and they're expecting him to just come in and dominate. And we don't know if he's going to do that. He's a rookie and he hasn't played. He hasn't really done anything except for these OTAs. But coaches are excited about him. He's a space eater. He's a big guy. Good to run. In passing, he's probably going to be a guy who goes out there for a second down, comes off on third down. But if he could be a space eater that Antonio Johnson never was for the Colts, then that's a successful draft pick for the Colts. And they've got other guys who they can bring in to rush the passer. So I like Chapman. I think, like I said, he's been taking a lot of first team snaps in OTAs, and I do expect him to get the job, but it definitely is a fluid position.
Yeah, exactly.
And Gene Francois, I just think, is probably going to play that like a 3-tech defensive end kind of thing.
Yeah. And okay, we got outside linebackers coming up, Eric Walden, Robert Mathis, and then, yeah, the interesting thing is Bjorn Werner. He's obviously going to get some snaps, but I'm not sure if he's going to take the starting position over at Walden, because I've also heard he's been playing where Mathis usually plays during OTAs.
Right, and they said in the draft corner that he could play both spots, and I certainly think he can. Where Mathis plays as a rush outside linebacker is probably a more natural position for him right now because he's so used to being with his hands on the ground and just rushing the passer. But strong side outside linebacker where Walden's going to play is probably where he'll end up getting snaps just because Mathis isn't there right now at OTAs. So Werner's going to get the snaps there, but once Mathis comes back, they're going to try and get more on the field however they can, and most likely you see him coming down and replace Walden on passing down when the season starts. You'd love to see Werner overtake Walden for that starting job eventually, but that may not happen until probably through the season or maybe not at all for us. Yeah.
There was another free agent they added at outside linebacker in Lawrence Sidbury. I actually ran into this guy at Costco where I work the other day, and he's just a scary dude. I just like to say that. All right, you got inside linebackers now. Now, this is where it gets interesting, too, because Pat Anger missed some time last year, and then we saw Cavell Connor come in and make some plays. And then we also got to know that they brought in Kelvin Shepard to make plays in coverage.
Yeah, Kelvin Shepard, he's been kind of inconsistent throughout his career at Buffalo, but last season he played really well in coverage, wasn't great in run defense, and according to Tom James of the Tribune Star, he played really well in pass coverage. He said he's been really impressed with his ability to draw back and recognize plays. So I could definitely see him playing as kind of a nickel backer, as kind of the role Moses Boku played last season. And Angler, I like the field between Connor and Freeman at starting linebacker because Cavell Connor is a really good attacking linebacker against the run. But Pat Angler does a great job too. And last season he was hurt by a foot injury throughout the whole season. It really slowed him down. And again, talking to Tom James about a month ago or so, he says the coaches love Angler and they really want to get him on the field. And I think that if Angler is healthy, I think he earns that starting spot next to Jarrell Freeman, and Connor possibly could just kind of get buried in this role, kind of a depth role, which is too bad. Like I said, I really like Connor's energy against the run. It's something that the other players don't really bring to the field, but Angler showed enough during that 2011 season that fans can be confident in him if he's healthy. Yeah,
he was one of the few bright spots in that 2011 season because, let's be honest, that wasn't too much fun to watch.
One of the very few bright spots.
Yeah. All right, we got cornerbacks. We got new addition in Greg Toller. We got Vontae Davis. We got Darius Butler. We got Cassius Vaughn. I know you and me talked before the draft. We would have liked to see them take a cornerback in the first round, like we liked Xavier Rhodes and Desmond Trufant. I think there's one open spot here where a guy like Sheldon Price or Alan Chapman, or especially Daxton Swanson, who's been pressing a lot, can get on this team.
Definitely. The fourth and fifth cornerback spot. Cassius Vaughn and Josh Corey kind of in those spots right now, but those are definitely flexible. Vaughn probably makes the roster just on the fact that the Colts had enough confidence in last season to leave him as a starter, after injury. So I don't see him getting cut, but Gordy is definitely in danger. And so are these other guys who are down there, like Teddy Williams, these guys who were special teams players mostly for the Colts last season. Price or Daxton Swanson are kind of the favorites right now. But Chapman's the other undrafted free agent cornerback, and all three of them played well during rookie minicamp. Haven't heard much about them since the Colts have left to OTAs. So we'll see what happens, but that fifth cornerback spot is definitely open, possibly even the fourth.
Yeah. All right, lastly, we got the safeties. We've got Laron Landry, Antoine Bethea. I'm curious, what do you think about Landry? And then we got some depth guys in John Boyett, who we drafted, and then Joe LaFedge, who I don't think played that bad last year.
No, not at all. I'll just go ahead and start there with LaFedge. Joe played great last season when they brought him in for some physicality for injuries. And I really thought that he should have stayed in for physicality after he got a chance to play, because he played much better both against the run and in pass coverage. So, he definitely has earned his spot. He's the third safety right now, Buffet and Landry. If either one goes down, he can step in and play decently well. He was an undrafted free agent a few years ago, so he's really panned out well as a good depth safety. Landry is a tough one for me. What he brings to the field is he brings someone he's a thumper. He's an intimidator, intimidates receivers over the middle, good in the box against the run, but isn't going to give you much as a deep cover safety. Probably going to run a lot of sets with Landry, kind of in that short and intermediate range, and have to say drop back as kind of a center fielder. And I just think, they paid a lot for the guy. They gave him a big contract. There was other guys out there available for cheaper, like Bernard Pollard, who I'm a big fan of. But, they have similar games, but we're a lot cheaper. And so, that's a tough one for me, especially when you have a guy like Landry now who is skipping OTAs, which, the Colts aren't dramatic and for their voluntary workouts. Workout home, but even guys like Matt and Wayne, who traditionally skip OTAs and work out on their own, they've been there for portions of it. And from what I've heard, Landry has not shown up yet.
Yeah,
And some of the beat writers for the Colts, like Mike Chappell, are a little miffed about that. They haven't even gotten to talk to the guy yet. But he has been an not All-Star, Pro Bowler. Although last season's Pro Bowl, he didn't deserve it. But he has talent and could be a big impact player if he kind of plays up to his potential. But I expect that they should have a better season with Landry next to him instead of Zukowski.
Oh, God,
like John Boyd, if he gets healthy, as kind of a potential replacement for Buffet, next up after this year. Boyd's got really good range with a free safety. He's got great instincts. And not the best in terms of natural talent, but his instincts really have made up for that in college. So love to see him get healthy and get on the field and see what he has for us.
Yeah, that injury was definitely a risk. And then I know a lot of teams were shy from drafting him just because of his size, because I think he was 5'10", 5'11"?
Yeah, he's short. He's not incredibly fast. But like I said, those instincts really give him a big jump on the ball. Allows him to get to those balls that his speed might not.
Yep. All right, well, we just went through the entire roster for everybody, talking about who we think will start and things like that. Thanks so much, Kyle, for coming on.
Not a problem, Tyler. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, have a good one, Kyle.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to Colts Central Radio. Make sure to follow me at @T_BROOKEY and at Colts Central. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Audibles, let's go big blue. Fans dead silent, everything's quiet. Peyton snatches the ball, man, now there's a riot. Horseshoe on the hat, number on the back. Kid's got the ball, baby, he ain't never turning back. Go. Yeah.